I'm Naomi Bennet. I live in Austin, Texas, and I'm in my 60s now, so I've had an evolving worldview. I had a degree in psychology, a bachelor's. That was my formal training. And then I spent a professional life, 11 years, in computer sales, where I sold big computer systems to Fortune 500 companies, and they cost $500,000 on elevated floors, air conditioning, and now your laptops are more powerful than that. So it's been an evolution. And after reaching the glass ceiling in my profession, I totally changed my life, and the only time in my married life where I pulled us from Los Angeles to Austin, Texas, and I've been there for over 20 years. And then I wound up being an investor of real estate. And what I didn't mention is since I was about 19, I have been interested in astrology and have followed astrology and a practitioner of that for over 40 years. So that has helped change my worldview too.
So in your worldview, I think you used the term pagan earlier. Would you say you are a pagan?
I used it loosely, but it's as close as of a word as I can come to, because of course I started in a Christian tradition. My mother didn't give us too much background. She was actually a Serbian Orthodox, but we had babysitters that were Baptists, so I was actually baptized in the Baptist church. My mother died when I was 12, and then I had a grandmother take her place, and she was a practicing Catholic, so I went to Catholic Mass with her for a while. So I'd say that's how I started in that tradition, but of course I questioned most of those religious beliefs once I hit college, which most of us do. And then I started having the influence of astrology. That was a big transition. And then I was definitely in the 70s of the feminist movement, which totally changed my worldview, because then I realized that it was all patriarchal, that they didn't have any honoring of women. And so I determined there was no way I was going to belong to any kind of religious organization with my commitment to feminism and the recognition of religious history and the prejudice they have and the dogma they have. And then my life experience with astrology made a big difference. Do you want me to go into how that all evolved? Because you were asking about heaven.
I'd like to focus primarily, if possible, on what is your understanding of what happens to the soul after death? Do you, for example, believe that we are a soul and have a body, or that we have a soul? And what happens to us post-mortem?
Well, I think there's an animating entity. I think I've read where they believe that they've measured bodies before and after death, and there's a minuscule amount that seems to evaporate. And I think there's enough written through all of history that there's something that animates us that we call soul or being or consciousness, and that evaporates with death. I believe now that there's a heaven on earth rather than up in the sky. And I know I've never believed in reincarnation, so I don't think that we go to an afterlife. I think this is it. So it's be here now, live here now, and have the fullest experience of this existence that you possibly can.
So in 100 years from now, when we're both dust, or just memories, if we're lucky, or maybe simulated in someone's computer program, do you feel that there is any essence of ourselves that may still have awareness or connection with us, or is our essence also gone?
Well, I think of modern science now as that we are all basically have come from the stars, that something in life landed here and animated life here from the primal beginnings, and that I think that what we do is dissipate back into the ether, that was the old term, but back into the air our atoms scatter, and we become one with the universe, which is one with God. So I think I just changed it into a more modern scientific view of this disbursement of self into the one. But do I think that I'm going to come back into some real entity? I don't think so. I think I diffuse back into the environment completely. Just like you see a drop of ink in a bottle or a tea bag, you do diffusion into the environment that you're in.
You talked about heaven on earth. This is a very interesting phenomenon, the idea that heaven is something that can be realized, but we shouldn't wait until we're dead to do it. How can we bring about heaven on earth, collectively or individually?
Well, the Buddhists are probably closest to that, which is to be very present in yourself, and we always have moments of transcendence where we feel so integrated that we're not separated from outside. I had that, believe it or not, when I was racing Porsche cars in a racing track, and it was a very controlled environment. I was learning how to do the racing, but there was one point in driving that car and the track where I no longer struggled, that the driving was perfect, and that I was totally synchronous with that car, and there was no separation whatsoever. And so I think life is about experiential. The worst thing you can do at death is to have regret, to say, if only if I had done that. And it's about having a full expression of self. So I think of it as a musical instrument. And you want to play every single note on that keyboard so that you have a full expression of the instrument that you have in this being. And so it's about experiential opportunities to have a full expression of heaven on earth, which is being in this body, which is being in the presence of yourself, rather than some traditions, they want you to separate your bodily experience and go beyond the sensations. And I think it's much more pagan that you need to go into your body, into all your emotions, all of your expressions, because this is the vehicle that you've been given. This is one element of karma that you've been given, which is that you're living in this body, versus like being a fish where you're living in water. You have the limitations of being the fish. We have the limitations of having to be human at this time. So be fully human. And I think that one of the fullest expressions that we have, that's the easiest for most people to get to, is rather than meditation, which I have done, and I've practiced yoga for 12 years, believe it or not, is a sexual orgasm. An orgasm, if you have one that's very profound, is the one that can be a full body expression all the way up to opening your heart and using your voice to open up that chakra, and then shooting up over the top of your head. So, and yet those are all the things, all our taboos are around the things that give us pleasure points, food or sex. And so if we can get past those religious taboos and go back to have a full human experience, then I don't think it's very hard to have heaven on earth.